We are going to see a video of 2009 shot in Mexico, near the Mexico shores, by famous French artist Tanios Mouraud, who is together with us tonight. We will have a discussion later, but now just please concentrate and enjoy the video called Ad Infinitum, which covers the mother whale and baby whale in the ocean, and what it means we will discuss later. So please enjoy. Čia bus video apie banginį, 2009 metais nufilmuotas prie Meksikos krantų, garsios prancūzų menininkės Tanios Mouraud, kuri yra su mumis šį vakarą. Diskusija bus angliškai, kad nereiktų vertimo iš prancūzų ir kad nereiktų vertimo iš lietuvių. Tai taupydami laiką kalbėsim angliškai. Tikiuosi, kad tai yra ok. Ir linkiu malonaus vakaro. Dabar pažiūrėsim filmą, o po to diskusiją. So what we have just seen. Yesterday we opened your exhibition, which is calligraphy, poetry, words, playing with words, and now grandiose nature of grandiose scale, Mexico video. How come?
So yesterday there was also a video about the disappearance of the forest by a human being killing the forest. So I, as an artist, I am using to change my way of creating every 3 or 4 years. When I get bored with what I am doing, I change the medium and I learn something completely new. So I have...
I'm sorry, but you stayed with video much longer. You stayed like 12 years. Yes.
Yes, because in fact, each video is a new world. So it's going in a new country, in a new world. And considering this video, in fact, I was in Los Angeles for a video installation that I was showing at Grand Central Art Center. And then I went to the seaside and I heard a funny sound. And I looked, and it was lions. I mean, I don't know, sea lions. And I had never seen any sea lions in my life outside
the zoo.
And so I came back. I said, oh, I want to make a video with the sea lions. And I searched on internet and I found that very boring in terms of images and in terms of emotions. And I found the green whales. And I decided I will make a film about the green whales. But it is very difficult because there are a lot of tourists going to see the green whales in Baja California. And anyhow, I found a guide and I explained him. I've been a guide on the internet. I wrote him and told him what I wanted. And he organized completely the travel. And there I went to a place where there was absolutely no tourist. And I traveled on a ponga every morning. A ponga is a boat of 14 meters. It is with a small motor. And we are going like 40 minutes in the sea. And then we stop the ponga, but there is still the motor, and it is the sound, the drone that is in the video is the motor of the ponga, which I have treated with some reflect. So this is the ponga.
I was going to ask, what's the sound?
Yeah.
Because you can hear the whales breathing and something else. So it is the mechanical sound.
Yes, the mechanical, and it was on purpose. I wanted...
You wanted to keep mechanical sound to add feeling of insecurity for the whales or something else?
No, I wanted, I am very much influenced, though I am not at all, I am doing noise music, and I am very much influenced by Indian music, where there is always a drone, and all the other sounds are coming on this drone. And I wanted to keep the sound of the ponga as a drone, and also because as a mechanical, because now there is no nature, so-called nature anywhere. It is only when, even if you are in a forest far away, you hear the sound of a car or of a plane or so. Okay. In that case, I wanted the sound of the motor. And then I kept also the breathing of the whale, because I found it...
Two sounds, breathing of the whale and motor.
Yes.
Can I ask about the statistics, about numbers? how big are the whales and how many hours of video did you shoot on the spot?
So the mother is the whale with a lot of things on her skin, and it is like between 15 and 17 meters. And the baby is 7 meters long, but his mentality is that of a small cat. So, so it is very dangerous because it is going like this under the boat and coming back, and and it is not very easy because the breathing of the whale, when it is breathing, the whale, it is spitting out a lot of
water.
It is worse than water, and the smell is very bad, and it is very dangerous. You have to be very careful and wipe your face, and it's just like going in deep rain. I was dressed up.
Was it secure enough for you? Because those animals, they are enormous, 17 meters.
Nice.
They are not dangerous at all, and they are not aggressive when they see the motor, someone filming them, no?
No, they come. In fact, before, unfortunately, they were killed, and they are very resilient animal, because now they come, if they hear the motor, they come to the boat, and leaving the motor makes you escape from any accident with the whales, If the boat would have been without any motor, it is kind of dangerous.
Yes. When someone sees the body of your work that you did in photography, installations, calligraphy, the topic is mainly about destruction and aggression,
yes,
both within civilizational, historical context and natural, as we are seeing with trees in Kasiulio's museum. But this is something else. Is there an ecological message in this?
In fact, I am never thinking about ecology.
No?
No, because I mean, this thinking about ecology is very recent. I mean, intellectually. And I was thinking about ecology, but more political, with Dumont, René Dumont, who was saying in the 70s that if we stop eating meat, it will give a lot of space to grow wheat, and that the whole humanity will have to eat, But the ecology of today, it was not very useful. But
this is 2009. It's rather recent.
It's
16 years.
But for me, it is nature. I mean, it is nature, and it is also to be confronted to something which comes from which is very old, and suddenly I lose in front of these animals when becomes very small, and when lose the power.
No longer the king or queen of nature.
Exactly.
Somebody is bigger than you.
Yes, yeah. That is this feeling that I want, and suddenly to be confronted with those animals, there is a kind of, and leaving all the so-called ego trip from the so-called civilization, when become coming to a state of peace, and there is no more I and you, it is one. And that is what I was. And that is not so new, because at the beginning of my career, I was doing meditation rooms.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, this egoless approach, oneness with universe, is not really Western source. It must have been your fascination with Indian philosophy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
you went to India many times.
Yes, I went to India many times, but also before going to India, Indian thought had a lot of power on European thought, and let us say, Western world thought.
Yeah.
Even Malevich, he was a disciple of Upansky, who was very much influenced by Indian thought. So,
Okay, so it is older
yeah,
than the post-war, and then your influences with Joseph Beuys and all this reformation of Western art that needed to be reformed because Second World War. You are a child of the World War II.
yeah,
You know, you were born in Nazi-occupied Paris.
yes.
What does it mean? How does it influence you?
So you are saying a lot of things, but for me, it is not at all. I mean, I am the daughter of partisans. My mother was 19, she was a partisan, and my father, who was older, was also a partisan and died in the
Resistance.
yes, in the resistance. So of course, even if my mother didn't speak much, because those people, they didn't speak after the war, it is the atmosphere in the house which in the house which imbibed me. And I must say, I grew up with a mother, very beautiful mother, and who was very free also. I mean, even if it was in the 50s, she was as free as in the 70s. So it was an example for me because she was working, she was successful, she was very beautiful, and she was very free, and she didn't choose like a lot of my other painters. They choose between career or family. For me, it was both. Why should I choose? I want to be like a man, you know. A man is not choosing between his career or his family. He wants both, so I wanted both.
That was very brave to say. No, today it's pretty everyday thing to say. But back in the 50s, 60s, or 70s, that wasn't as usual as today, especially even in Western Europe that we here idealize as the land of freedom, you know?
No, it was really, the French people are very sexist people.
Oh.
They say they love women, but they love women only for one thing, not in the work, and you know.
So as a woman artist, in a way, you needed, if you wanted to succeed in this kind of context, you needed to follow some rules of the game? Is that what you mean?
The rule of the game for a young girl who wanted to be an artist and who was not very ugly was to sleep with someone who had power, and of course not a woman who had power, but a man who had power. And I didn't want to follow that game. And of course, for them, I was not an artist, I was just a prey. And I didn't want to work with my body because I thought that for me it was impossible, because I didn't want to feel like being in Amsterdam.
Okay, I see. But your installations of late 70s in Rive Gauche, they still created an impact. They attracted audiences.
They attracted only my friends who were coming and who, because it was impossible to smoke in the gallery, but before entering the gallery, they smoked pot, and then they came and enjoyed the room for about 2 or 3 hours. So
yeah, now I need to confess how we met. I went to Munich to a famous Kunsthalle, Haus der Kunst, for the exhibition of women environment artists from 50s till 70s. And next to a wonderful installation by Alexandra Kasuba, Lithuanian-American artist, that was produced by our museum in Haus der Kunst, I found your installation that wasn't called installation because it was earlier, 1970, 70. That was still discovered by curators, by Andrea Lissoni and Marina Pugliese, famous Italian curators, as a fact in art history. So still, even if you say that this only interested your friends, it remained as an important fact in French contemporary art history, wasn't it so?
In fact, as now, it is about 5 or 7 years that women artists are considered.
5 or 7 years, not more?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah, no.
No?
In fact, what I wanted to say, in the art world, they were not interested in my art at all. The artist didn't want to speak to me because I could not be an artist. I was a woman, a young woman, pretty young woman. So I had no brain. Fortunately for me, I became a teacher in an art school. And so the students, they were forced to listen to me and to listen to my ideas considering art. And for example, if today I was still teaching, during about 1 month, I will speak and speak about Lithuanian, all the exhibitions that I have seen, and so, and they will, and I will say all what I think about this country, and so. Now,
I should say thank you at this point?
No.
No?
And now, few people discover that I did works in the 70s, which were historically interesting. So, for example, even the Centre Pompidou is thinking about acquiring, 60 years later, a piece that I did.
Better later than never.
Exactly.
But you had retrospective 10 years ago at Centre Pompidou, Metz.
Yeah. Yes.
So if you are saying 5, 7 years for women artists, still there were curators at Centre Pompidou that thought Tanios Mouraud was worth a retrospective in their museum. A wonderful museum in Metz.
Yes,
wonderful.
It is wonderful. And really, I did something that no artist in the world ever had. In fact, I got the exhibition in the Centre Pompidou Metz, plus 9 exhibitions at the same time in the city, in other museums, in galleries, and so on.
And on the street, because you are,
and in the street.
You are urban artist, one of the first urban artists in France too.
Not one of the first, but somehow I happened to be in the street early.
Okay. So it should have been very positive feedback after this?
Not, well, I must say that there is Jacques Lang, who in the 80s changed completely the...
Minister of Culture of France.
Yes.
The legendary one.
Yes.
Yes.
And who was a socialist, who belonged to the Socialist Party. I mean, socialist like the French mind, not just socialist like the Russian mean, you know.
Don't know. No confusion with that. Yes.
And so he changed completely the situation in France, and he wanted that in each part of France there is an art center. And he gave a lot of money to those art centers, and there I showed completely in these art centers, and I had catalogs and things like that, but I had no gallery, and I didn't want any gallery. I didn't care, you know. And also there were those frac who were buying things. So I have a lot of pieces which have been bought by those frac in France.
FRAC is the archive, sort of repository, foundation of French art. Or
Yes.
French and international, probably.
Yes, French and
Yes,
international.
located in France.
And unfortunately, in the 90s, that stopped, and I thought I have to deal with galleries.
Because Lithuania had a saison of culture last year, and one of our exhibitions produced by our museum, two wonderful curators, was in Fiminko, which is a little city of arts, and also this FRAC collection is located physically there. So there is now connection with Lithuania.
Yes.
And thank you for being at the opening event at Pompidou, because you saw
Yes, that
you saw the Lithuanian saison managers, leaders speaking together with Laurent Lebon
Yes.
and French authorities in Pompidou.
And the fantastic performance of a Lithuanian artist with the hair.
Yes.
I don't know his name, but...
He's on every poster. Yes. You describe yourself as socially responsible artist. You have said that in one of the interviews. What does it mean?
In fact, I am not socially that socially responsible. I am just a citizen looking at what is happening and thinking that it is impossible to be so cruel with other people. For example, I worked a lot with the sentence of Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream. But I also worked in the street, a huge billboard which was 44 meters long, and where the text was, those who cannot remember history are condemned to repeat it.
Sure.
So things like this, you know, and just making, putting in the art conversation that we have with friends, you know, about what we think, how the world should be, and like this. So I want to share with the public. I said that for me, the public is like my best friend, to whom I say everything that I think. And I was saying to you this afternoon that I consider my art to be a maternal art. Maternelle, comment est-ce qu'on dit?
Maternal.
Maternal art. That is that as a mother, you convey ethic to your children. And so as a person, I convey ethics to the public.
So there is mother and child on the screen too, only slightly bigger?
Very big.
Very big.
When the first time I filmed, suddenly I saw that the head of the whale did not fit into the screen of my camera. I was completely surprised.
So this thought that a human being might not be a king or queen or only a king, maybe that's
No, king and queen.
King and queen,
Yeah.
not only patriarchal.
No.
Only also
because there are a lot of collaborators, you know. There are a lot of women collaborating with the patriarchal.
You are not so fond of patriarchal.
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay, so yeah, one of the reading of this video could be the smallness, the humbleness of a human being in front something else in the universe that might be important.
Yes, it is exactly like this. And as I said, you know, this dropping of the ego enable you to have a peaceful experience. That is very important. And I think people who see, here it is like a cinema, but when it is like an installation, they they stay a long time, and even the kids, very small kids, they like it.
But we are showing this video here because we think our hall and our wall is like a whale size.
Yes.
And it somehow fits here.
But the first time it was shown, it was in a church, and the not the screen, because there was no screen. It was projected on the walls. It was 44 meters long, and
a Gothic church.
Yes, Catholic
Gothic church of Middle Ages.
Yes.
Yeah, you have huge ones in France. Lots of them.
Yes.
Yeah. Now I have to ask you this scandalous, sensationalist question. Every biography that you read on you mentions the fact that you have burned your pictures when you were 27. Why?
Because they were bad. Because in fact, I just like every young person who wants to be an artist, I thought that to be an artist was to be a painter. And I painted, but I am a very bad painter. So, and at the same time, I was visiting a lot of galleries where there was no painting, and I loved the work of the op art artists, and and then I went to Documenta and I saw Cristo, but I knew Cristo before that. But suddenly I realized at the Documenta that I could be an artist without being a painter. And so when I came back, I decided that I was going to burn all this bad painting for two reasons, as I told you. One, because nobody was interested, and secondly, because I wanted to begin on a clean background. And that is always what I am still doing, because it is my character, you know. I'm not, and I don't like to think about the past, you know. I like to, when I do something, I live in the present. And so that is what.
Does it have anything to do to be born in Paris occupied by Nazis? That every moment is a treasure? And you only think about survival.
It is not to have been born in Paris occupied. It is because as a baby, you don't know that you are in an occupied city. You know, it is as an adult. It is more to have been an orphan.
Because you lost your father in the resistance fights.
I lost my father in the resistance, and I lost the rest of the family, either killed by the German because they were a resistance somewhere else, or in camps. And from all the family, there is only one person. My grandmother, she died in Israel. And she is buried in Israel. And in France, there are only one. I discovered recently that I had an uncle who died recently, but I didn't know about it. So
you are a French artist, but with a Jewish mythology behind you, and all this nostalgic imagined Jewry. Ici, in Vilnius, Yerushalayim, the Little Jerusalem of the North, Israel, elsewhere, you are trying to learn Yiddish. You're quite good in Yiddish. What does it mean for you as a French artist to have this Jewishness inside, or side by side, or together?
So, first of all, I don't consider myself as a French artist. I don't consider myself as French. It is the other who consider me as French. I was, when I was 14, I was brought up in a boarding school in England, and after I spent 5 years.
How come you were in England?
My mother spent a lot of money because she wanted me to make a good marriage. So she sent me a very poshy school in England, and she wanted me to learn English, and she wanted me to learn German. So she sent me to Germany. And unfortunately, all that money she spent was useless because I didn't make a poshy marriage as she wanted to.
At this point, I cannot resist of repeating this joke. Nasty weather this morning, isn't it? Is that this phrase that your teacher was saying every week?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not every week, every morning.
Every morning?
Yes.
Of the weekdays?
Yes. And even Saturday and Sunday.
But even this phrase was used for one of your artworks later.
Yes, because I couldn't resist,
That artwork is in England?
Yes, in Maidstone. It is in street art.
This phrase is on the marble.
Yes.
How funny.
Yes, for me it was funny.
For Lithuanians, the mythical figures of Düsseldorf, like Joseph Beuys or Graupner, they're sort of, mythical forefathers of contemporary art and great reformers. What did the contact with them give to you as someone coming from France?
For me, it was...
Do you consider them like teachers, mentors?
For me, John Cage was more important than... Graupner also was really, he was a little like a father to me. I mean, I cannot say a friend because there was so much difference
in age. Yes.
And his wife were very, very kind to me. And when I began to do painting, they gave me advice. And really, it was extraordinary. And of course, what was in this Düsseldorf when I was there was such it was a small city, and the intellectual and the artists were all in the same cafe. It was very easy to be part of them, And so for me, it is there that I did my formation. That is why I say I don't feel at all. And there was also, I met the Beat Generation, Corso, Ferlinghetti. And so it was, that is why I don't consider myself as French, because my culture was made more in Germany.
So you consider, in one of the conversations I remember, you said that the student revolution of '68 actually was preceded by youth movements in Germany?
Yes.
Are you sure about that?
Absolutely
sure.
Yes. There was Rudy Le Rouge and...
the Reuter Army faction?
Yeah.
This
and
quite radical movement against the system.
I met one of them, but I was very frightened because they were killers, really, and you could see them on there. And at the time I said, you have to choose, to my friend, I said, you have to choose between me or them. They were too dangerous, and I was right in a way, But the thing is, as I told you, we were going to the manifestation in '68, just like going...
In Paris?
Yes, in Paris, just like going to a cafe, Oh, let's go to... But the thing is that...
But you were not 16, you were 26 at that time. So more or less a grown-up person.
Exactly, but the thing is that there was no place for women. If you look at the film...
Even in the resistance movement, such a, how to say, inclusive thing par excellence.
No.
Leaders only men, no women.
Look at the film of William... j'ai un trou de mémoire affreux, là. this photographer,
Not
American,
good.
William Klein, at William Klein, you will see only men shouting and things like that. And if a poor girl tries to say something, you hear, please be quiet so that we can hear what she's saying. In my case, I have a very loud voice, but most of young girls, they have a very high voice that you cannot hear from far. And of course, they could not say anything. And in university, you didn't have a lot of women. I mean, not women, but girls. It was mainly for men. And in universities at that time, it was only for the rich one. Because all the middle class, the girls, they were learning to type and to steno, to become secretary. And the boys of the middle class, they were learning some to be some mechanics or things like that. They were not in the...
So the voices of Simone de Beauvoir, Simone Weil, they were like very solitary voices.
Yes. Now, at that time, you had a few feminists, very, but who began only in the 70s, you know, in France. And it was very interesting because there were a lot of books being published. There were a lot of, but unfortunately, they were too much against men. I mean, most of them, they hated men. Well, I hate patriarchal, but I love men. If they are not patriarchal.
Yeah, sometimes it's not easy to see the red lines, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. We are going in circles, returning to the same very important topic. And from the works that I saw, I was particularly interested in the vitrines and the windows of the shops in Paris, the series that you did. These are really interesting, beautiful photographs, but I was even more interested in the way, in the method was used to shoot them. Could you elaborate on that a little bit? How was it for a young, attractive woman to be in public with a camera? What did it take to do that?
In fact, I did a work very much influenced by Adjet. So I decided that I was going to shoot what is in the shop windows. And for that, I chose the Guide Michelin, who was, at the time, there was not the telephone, just there was no Google at the time. It was in 1980. And I chose the itinerary, touristic itineraries recommended by the Guide Michelin. And instead of looking at the church or what they did, what should look at, I was looking at the shop windows and I was photographing all the shop windows. But the thing is that I had to be very quick.
Very quick.
Very quick.
And why is that?
Because if a woman is staying more than 30 seconds in front of a shop window, immediately there was a man saying, "Oh, you are alone," or "You have a good ass," or "Oh, you have this or that."
As vulgar as that.
Yes. So
it was not an isolated event.
No.
It happened all the time.
Yes. It is because, in fact, the city all over the world is not made for women. It is made for men. And if a woman wants to just sit down, I mean, not when you are as old as I am now, I can sit down for hours together and nobody will come to bother me, you know.
This is quite a soothing, relaxing feeling after all those years.
Exactly. But when you are young, the city is not made for a young woman.
That's quite strong. Never thought about that. as a man, probably. But I saw lots of young girls in French public spaces, but that's a recent phenomenon. Nobody seems to bother them, probably in last years.
I don't know. Because, in fact, in Germany, there are a lot of architects are thinking about that, about that the city is not made for women, or, for example, parkings are dangerous for young women. So in Germany, they do parkings for women and things like that,
I see. Our discussion is interesting, at least for me. Very interesting. But should not be too long.
No.
So one of the last questions should be, what is the... Yeah, we are thinking of you as a resistance fighter. I'm thinking that you were resisting and so much power and resistance you have shown, and you were attracted by the things that needed to be confronted as destruction, harassment, discrimination. That is very obvious from your work. So what is the role for the artist today in the world that is quite crazy, I should say? Wars, dictators, unexpected leaders, even in democracies that are changing the face of democracy in just minutes. So being an artist, I don't know, beginner, in the middle of career, at the height of career, what's at stake? What is the challenge?
I think an artist should be, like any other citizen, a responsible citizen. And he should use his art not to make propaganda, but to hint to the person who is interested in his art, or her art, to hint about responsibility. In fact, we are all responsible for the society we create. And I think we should not lose this feeling of responsibility just because we want to buy so many things. And so I think that not to fall into the trap of capitalism.
Finally, how does it feel in Lithuania? It's your first time.
That is. For me, it's like coming home. Because you spoke about Yiddish. Of course, I began to learn Yiddish during the COVID. And that is how I discovered a lot of fantastic writers. Honestly, at first, I didn't think about from where they come. I was just thinking about what they write is so fantastic. And only when I met you and you proposed me to have a show, I saw that I had worked without knowing with a lot of people coming from Vilnius. Even when I was not working with, for example, there is a piece, I was not working with Yiddish at that time. I knew just the translation of the piece. This was about the partisan song of the Vilnius ghetto. And I work with that because in the song they speak of a young girl who learned how to shoot against the Nazi. And I thought about my mother, who was 19 and was shooting also. But so it means that I am, it's as if, well, as I say, I am a citizen of the world. I feel much better here in Vilnius as I feel in Paris.
Wow. Aren't we proud of that? I don't know if you saw this comedy, Blues Brothers. They
Yes,
have this phrase, we have a mission from God. So probably I had a mission from God to encourage you to discover Vilnius
exactly.
through your Yiddish poets like
Yes.
Sutskever or Ansky.
Fantastic. No, but really, I feel at home here. And the show, for me, this show is so important. I feel, maybe I feel that it is the first time that I say really with a show what is in my heart. And the why is the title in honor of a reborn pen? Of course, it is because of the history of World War II, but it is also because of the 7th of October, and also because of these young people who were going to marry in Washington who were killed last week. And so for me, I must also say, why did I ask that the electronic invitation is in orange? Because in fact, it was in honor of the baby Bibas who was killed with the naked
by
hand
Hamas.
by the Hamas.
So having said that, for Lithuanians it's very important also to recognize and see the pain of innocent Ukrainian civilians being killed daily as we speak.
Yes.
So we could say we unite in celebrating and mourning together and arguing against,
Yes.
resisting and protesting against that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is the high note and it begs for applause. Tanios Mouraud.